Groaners, welcome along to episode 160, which sees us venturing once again into the luring mists of the Groan Zone. We've escaped specials for a while now, but we've got another full episode for you. We'll be playing, don't quote me on that, Talking Nonsense, Yes or BS, 50-50, and Admin Nicole's Anagram Anxiety, so a chocked full episode for you this week. With no more waffle, let's kick into groan gear, starting with my groans. Prime dumping great movies. Why does Prime limit time for excellent movies, in some case classics, yet crap ones can stay on there forever? Case in point, a horror movie great flick like Splinter is gone, yet a movie such as Meteor-ageddon, that's a rip-off of Armageddon, gets left on there for all time and all to see. Clear the crap off and leave us with great movies. That's why we pay £85 a month, not just for faster parcel deliveries. Oh, and hey, leave off the ads and the extra subscriptions for the services within Amazon, please. £85 is more than enough. 2025, anyone? So you watch a music video of a song you've not heard in years. I can stake a bet on it that some gump has written the ever-popular and funny 2025, anyone? Comment, denote my sarcasm. What are you expecting? A time traveller to say, oh, 2045 in reply, or something. It's a crap comment because next year it'll be 2026, anyone? Stop it! Unclear menus. I ordered a sandwich the other day, triple bacon, and it was lush. However, it didn't tell me on the menu it had come with a heap of coleslaw, which I hate, and I quarantine food that has touched it. Yes, I hate coleslaw that much. I would have eaten the cucumber and tomatoes, but they chucked them into the coleslaw. My bread bun had touched the coleslaw as had some of the bacon. I had to plan my attack to not taste the coleslaw. Apple juice did the trick. Please, if a sarnie or anything comes with extra things, make it clear on the menu. That's my groan thrown into the pit that represents the Groan Zone. Kicking the trapdoor closed on the hungry pit for now. We'll feed it one more groan later on. We switch on to movies now with our first game of the episode in the shape of Don't Quote Me on That. No facts after each round, but in time this will be brought back. I give a quote per round, and you groaners out there must name the movie. That's the concept of this game. Good luck. Here we go. Round 1.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pause here, groaners. Have a think. Answer, then unpause. Think very carefully on this one. That's all I'm going to say. Round 2.
Garbage day! No!
Pause here, groaners. Have a little think. Answer, then unpause. And final round, round 3.
Below the shiver scale, I award the dolphin 10 skulls.
Pause here, groaners. Have a little think. Answer, then unpause. How was your movie knowledge, dear groaners? You'll find out later on. I've bought you one game, but now I must lay the age-old question at your feet and ask why, oh why. Over the course of generations, we've all, or most of us, have played video games. In recent years, tournaments for these games have been about, and more popular, and more importantly, free to watch. I'm primarily talking about fighting games here. Leave it to greedy Capcom, who not only take your money for the game, but now, to watch any tournaments, you will have to break the paywall set up to block your viewing. I don't know how much it'll cost, but looking at a poll in an article, only 2% said they would pay. Capcom, take note, but you probably won't. paywalling what should be free content. I've got to ask, why oh why? From whys, we go to a horror-inspired thing now with Oh Lucky. This week, this one goes out to Point Pleasant in West Virginia. Hi to our groaners there in West Virginia. I know you listen. I don't know who you are, but you do listen. As a horror figure has brought prosperity to the town. On the third weekend of September, the Mothman, if you're unsure who or what this is, do look it up, as it's pretty creepy and could fuel a whole other section. But onwards, as I said, it was the Mothman Festival. They celebrate, dress up and honour this figure from legend and or folklore. But this creepy figure also brings a lot of business to the small town, and instead of running out of money, the local bank finds itself cash heavy from tourism from people from everywhere. I guess you could say in this case, people flock there like a moth to a flame. Please don't hate me for that bad joke. Very lucky for Point Pleasant. How about you groaners? In the words of Dirty Harry, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, groaner? I ask because you'll need it for the next game, which is Talking Nonsense. You know this one, groaners. I give you gibberish and you've got to decipher what I'm talking about. Round 1. Sometimes you go to this region and weather can be hot, but it can be a drink flavour too. Your nonsense is... Pause your groaners, have a little think, then throw your answer in. Round 2. Often you can put a load of tracks on an MP3 or a CD or a cassette. Your nonsense is a skim. Pause your groaners, give me that answer. Pause. That should say pause your groaners, then give me your answer, then unpause. Round 3. You often get it on the road, but it can also happen with trolleys in the shops. Your nonsense is... Pause your groaners, have a little think, give me the answer, then unpause. And with that being the last round, I'll unscramble this mess of gibberish to make points for you later, groaners. But that is later, and this is now, as we turn the page for Admin Nicole's Creepy Corner. Your story for this week is called Corruption is Power. Robin paced around the room. To him it was mere minutes, just him pacing and drowning in his own thoughts. However, in reality it had been hours. Sean had returned with his son, and the deer were all accounted for. Cole wasn't leaving Carla's side. She was unconscious and weak. It was too soon to tell whether she would pull through. Her unique DNA made it even harder to treat her as well, but luckily for them, they were the expert on all deer in existence. If anyone was capable of helping her, it would be them. Sean sat down in his favourite armchair, as he often did most days, and encouraged Robin to join him. The story you wish to know is lengthy, and you won't like it. Not to mention, I can only tell you half. To acquire the other half, you will need to talk to one of the first. I can guide you there, but I ask you to be careful with her. She's fragile these days. Are you sure you wish to know the truth of our world? Sean asked. Robin nodded, looking towards the room where Carla was. She should be hearing it all with him, but what could she do now? At the very least, he could keep Cove out of all this. This would be his burden to shoulder. It was the least he could do for them. He asked the old man to continue. He needed to know. A very long time ago, life was thriving. Everything all working as one. Animals and humans together. No war, no pain, no conflict. It was the ultimate paradise. Almost if it was designed to be that way. However, no peace is ever destined to last. The problem, as is the problem with all worlds, is that the most sentient creature will always aim to destroy everything. Usually in the name of prosperity or love, but it's all an excuse. They just want power. Nothing more, nothing less. The more power you have, the more it eats you up. However, power can't corrupt the innocent. One must have some degree of darkness in them already in order to grow the corruption that already lives in their hearts. Politicians and scientists gathered one day in an event that would later become known as the Green Death. A choice was made that day, you see, to end the animals and wipe the trees. Animals were of use, but they were also in the way. So a plan was made. Take multiple copies of the DNA from every last animal and then wipe them. Designate areas to forest and burn the rest. They needed the oxygen after all. However, what they didn't account for were those who would rise up against them. A man who would then become known as the Reaper of the Lost. He was a scientist working in his farm. His main focus was of course on deer. He would study everything about them while keeping them safe. However, once the Green Death happened, he, like every other scientist, was summoned. An enormous facility was built underground for experimentation and building the future, so they were told. Initially that scientist went, they were given no choice after all. However, he had no intention of staying. He merely wanted to know just how low they were willing to stoop to acquire the so-called future of theirs. Once he had all the information he needed, he left. They tried to stop him, but he had everything planned. A small bomb he had in his pocket for months, waiting to be used. As he approached the lift to leave, he was stopped. He simply smiled and told them never to go near his deer or his family again. Those deer and a few other species were only kept alive because of that one scientist and a few like him. All other animals were wiped from existence. The world would never be the same again, yet somehow they found a way to live with what happened. Every now and then, something created to be humanity's evolution would be made to live on the surface among real humans. To assimilate and to learn, but more than anything, to replace. Humanity's evolution was created for an array of reasons. It took months of never-ending research and sleepless nights to make any progress. Then came the first. A small group of humans ready to be tested on and to have their DNA taken for future experiments. Relations or clones they would never know about. The first were humans from all ages. Some children, but not all. One of the ones that would come to be affected would be Vanilla, Sean's own daughter. She was one of the first, and she would never be able to forget the things she saw or felt. Neither would she be able to forget what was taken from her. Well, Nicole, a cliffhanger there, and we delve deeper into DNA mysteries there. Here's hoping humanity never uses gene management or manipulation to do something along the lines of the story arc so far. Well written. As before, Groaners, I had my turn to groan, and now we're forced to one of you out there with the audience groan. And apologies, I didn't mention this at the start of the show, but yes, we have an audience groan this week. This week's audience groan came in via CB from Carlisle, who emailed theirs in. And it goes as follows. Hi Mr. E, I've just had a hellish afternoon in the shops. Why do so many people dawdle when they are driving their trolleys? I don't understand it. They even let them get away from themselves and they crash into someone else. Either that, or they move slower than a dead snail, gulping at shelves of washing up powder blocking the aisle. Just pick what you need and clear the aisle, moose brain. I don't want to spend my entire life in the shops behind such a slow sod. Yup, CB, I'm with you there. There is no need to be a twat with the trolley. Just like driving, be aware of your surroundings or you'll come a cropper. Now then, Groaners, you're probably wondering, well, hopefully you're wondering, how can I take part in the show? Well, there's many ways, and you don't just have to send your groans. We want your groans, we want your ideas, your feedback, anything you feel you can add to the show, especially your hero or zero of the week nominations. But how can you do this? There's a few ways. 1. Email us on the groanzonepod@gmail.com. 2. Hit either one of us up on Facebook Messenger, that's Mr. E. Groaner, or Nicole Amos, on Facebook Messenger like I just said. Speaking of Facebook, number 3, you can join us on Facebook groups under the Groan Zone Podcast Facebook group. Number 4, you can join us on Discord under the Groan Zone Podcast Discord channel, where we usually would record at 8:30 Greenwich Mean Time every Friday, sometimes live, sometimes not, it all depends on timescales. And lastly, drop a comment on any platform you listen on, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and if we can see it and we can review it, then with a bit of luck, we'll have it in an episode coming up in the future. But it all depends on you, Groaners. You give us the content, then we can use it. Or I should say, Groantent. But now, this brings us nicely to another game with Yes or BS, the classic game we've had with us since day one of the podcast. You were just trying to get 3 points, but get a BS in round 2 or 3, and any points you may have had, well, they'll be gone. Avoid the BS. Seek the truth. Much like life, really. Round 1. The Baker's 40 dice round. A. 40 is the only number with letters in alphabetical order. B. Opposite sides of a dice always add up to 7. Or C. A baker's dozen is 12. Pause here, groaners. Have a little think. Pick A, B or C, and then unpause. Round 2. The Flight Left 1976 round. A. 15% of people are left-handed. B. The longest flight of a chicken was 13 seconds. Or C. Sprite was launched in 1976. Again as before, groaners. Pick your option A, B or C. Pause. Unpause when you've answered. And then we'll move on to round number 3. The English water film round. A. There are only 4 words in the English language that end in D or US. B. It took 8 weeks to film the movie Wayne's World. Or C. The WD in WD-40 stands for water dissolver. Pause here, groaners. Pick your option A, B or C, and then unpause. Did you survive and keep your points? Or some of them? Or did you lose all your points for this game? I'll tell you later, groaners. We now name our heroes of the week. Recently, some abhorrent events went down on an LNER train in which some people sadly lost their lives due to the actions of some knife-wielding, let's call them a bad person for the sake of preserving my non-swearing rule during the show. However, 2 brave souls refused to allow further loss and actually saved lives by putting themselves in harm's way. Samir Zatouni is an employee of LNER who were incredibly proud of his actions. He was critically injured in the attack, saving other people's lives, but just this week I can happily report he left hospital. Stephen Crean confronted the knife-wielding person and didn't back down. Although injured, it gave others time to escape. There are calls to award both men the George Cross, which is the highest award that can be given for bravery in the UK. Thank you to both guys for bravery and your actions. You are eternal heroes in the eyes of many and this show. Now, on the other side of the coin, we have our zero of the week. Of course, it goes out saying 1K0 is the attacker from the train and the hero of the week. I refuse to name them because I can, and they are pointless and worthless. Our zero is the people in charge of the early release system in the UK. Why? Because they dropped the ball and freed 91 prisoners who shouldn't be free by mistake. And we wonder why our streets aren't safe. You utter goobers. Zero status for you. And now for our nearly final game of the week with 50-50. You know this one, Groaners, it's the most recent one. I give you a statement. You've got 2 options, A or B. One of them's you're right 50-50, the other one's you're wrong 50-50. So you've got half a chance of getting it right. Round 1. Statistically, the most popular YouTuber currently is A. Markiplier or B. Mr. Beast. Pause your groaners, pick your 50-50, then unpause. Round 2. There is no worst biscuit, Americans, this doesn't mean the biscuits from Biscuits and Gravy, in the world, but one contender is A. McVitie's Rich Tea or B. Carr's Table Water Crackers. Pause your groaners, pick your 50-50, then unpause. Round 3. Steam's biggest game franchise with no current sequel is A. Half-Life or B. Horizon. Pause your groaners, pick your 50-50, then unpause. Game answers soon to come, groaners, but now we switch back to creepy again with, well, that's creepy. This week's is short and also apparently true, and I got it from BuzzFeed. Full credit to the poster called Hannah. I have a cross necklace that I like to wear. I was wearing it one day when my daughter was about 5. She started yelling, "Take it off, Mummy, take it off!" When I asked her why, she said, "The lady in the corner really doesn't like it." Just then, there was an audible thump from the corner of the room. My daughter and I froze. I took it off immediately. To this day, I'm scared to wear the necklace in that room. And I got goosebumps reading that, Groaners. And yes, if that happened to me, I'd probably not want to piss the ghost off and take off whatever the hell it wanted, within reason. Now, we bring on the scoring with the game answers, starting with last week's "What the hell is this?" I was looking for the answer of a 1921 Earl Haig poppy. Well done if you got that, Groaners, you know your history. 50-50, round 1. Statistically, the most popular YouTuber currently is B, Mr. Beast, with 450 million subscribers. I'm not a fan of his, but moving on from that. Round 2. There is no worse biscuit in the world, but one contender is A, McVitie's Rich Tea. They are known for being too plain and their disintegration. Round 3. Steam's biggest game franchise with no current sequel is A, Half-Life. Yes, Half-Life 3 has been sought after for years. I mean, we've had Half-Life 2 and we've had Alex, well, that's Half-Life Alex, but we've never officially had a Half-Life 3. And I'm for it, and I'm waiting for it, and I want it. I'll pay. Take my money, Steam. Take my money. Valve, take my money. We want Half-Life 3. Moving on. Yes or BS. Round 1. The Baker's 40 dice round. A. You went for this option. 40 is the only number with letters in alphabetical order. This is true. If you went for B, opposite sides of a dice always add up to 7. This is also true. However, if you went for C, a baker's dozen is 12. This is wrong. It's actually 13. So if you went for C, you've got no points. However, if you went for the other ones, you've got a point. Round 2. The Flight Left 1976 round. If you went for A, 15% of people are left-handed, you now have no points at all. If you went for B, the longest flight of a chicken was 13 seconds, this is true. If you went for C, Sprite was launched in 1976, again you have no points. False. It was 1961 and it was Coca-Cola's third product. Round 3. The English water film round. If you went for A, there are only 4 words in the English language that end in D-O-U-S. This is true. Hazardous, horrendous, stupendous, and tremendous. If you went for B, it took 8 weeks to film the movie Wayne's World. False. You have no points now. It was filmed over 2 weeks. And lastly, if you went for option C, the WD-WD-40 stands for water dissolver. That's false again, and you have no points. It's water displacer. So I'm sorry, Groaners, if you got totally blanked at the end of round 3. Hopefully, you came up with some points for yes or BS. Talking nonsense. Round 1, your nonsense was tropical. Round 2, your nonsense was a mixtape. And round 3, your nonsense was road rage. Don't quote me on that. Your movie for round 1 was Prey from 2022. I'll bet a lot of you went for the original Predator in 1987, I think it was. I bet I caught a lot of you out. I got you. Round 2, a horror movie classic, because it's so bad, Violent Night. And lastly, round 3, which I saw recently, I've been dying to see it, 1408, and it really gave me the creeps. Well done if you scored points in any of the games this week, Groaners. If you didn't, or yes or BS hit you hard, you have more chances next week with different games. One more game from Admin Nicole this week with Anagram Anxiety. Sometimes I get these, sometimes I don't. More often than not, Groaners, you're on your own because I haven't got a clue. Speaking of clues, your clue is it cold or is it chocolate? And your anagram is Fodder. F-O-D-D-E-R. The answer will come next week. And until then, Groaners, take care. Bye-bye. Initially, that sign went, Garbage Day!